When God is about to bless you, everything in your life begins to shift. You may not see it immediately, but deep inside, something begins to stir. The atmosphere around you changes. The people around you begin to reveal themselves, and your spirit becomes restless. This is not confusion. It is divine movement. It is the signal that the hand of God is working behind the veil, preparing something greater than what you prayed for. You may think your life is falling apart, but in truth, it is falling into alignment. God does not bless chaos. Before he releases a blessing, he reorganizes your path. Before he pours abundance, he clears the vessel. Before he lifts you higher, he removes what cannot go with you. You must understand this truth. When God is about to bless you, he will never allow you to remain in comfort. The first sign of a coming blessing is discomfort. The familiar begins to feel wrong. The places you once enjoyed start to drain you. The conversations you once entertained no longer feed your soul. That's not boredom. It's separation. God is pulling you away from what is beneath your destiny. When you are chosen for greatness, God makes you uncomfortable in average places. You start to feel an inner push, a spiritual stirring that says there is more. That's God awakening the seed inside you. You are being shifted from convenience to conviction. Do not fight the discomfort. It's the labor pain before birth. The blessing you prayed for is about to arrive, but you must be willing to leave the old womb of familiarity. The second sign appears when isolation becomes your new classroom. Suddenly, people begin to disappear. Those you trusted distance themselves. The phone becomes silent. The support you once had seems to vanish. It feels like rejection, but it's redirection. God removes people, not because he wants to punish you, but because he wants to protect you. Every blessing comes with exposure, and God knows that not everyone around you can handle the light he is about to place upon you. So he isolates you, not to make you lonely, but to make you listen. In isolation, you stop hearing the noise of the crowd and start discerning the voice of God. After it is in solitude that God whispers the next step, reveals hidden enemies, and strengthens your spiritual backbone. The blessing requires privacy before it is made public. So when people walk away, don't chase them. Thank God. The fewer the hands in your life, the easier it is for him to shape you. The third sign that God is about to bless you is when your enemies suddenly multiply. You may wonder why now. Why do people suddenly turn against me? Because every elevation invites opposition. God uses enemies as instruments of acceleration. When your name starts to be spoken in rooms you've never entered, when you start facing resistance without reason, know this: your blessing is close. The enemy only fights what threatens him. If you were insignificant, you would not be attacked. But when the blessing of God is about to manifest, forces rise to test your endurance, your patience, and your faith. You are not being destroyed. You are being trained. God allows resistance not to break you, but to build you. Every false accusation, every betrayal, every misunderstanding is part of your preparation. The greater the warfare, the greater the reward. Then comes the fourth sign, the divine test of faith. When God is about to bless you, he tests your trust. Doors that should open seem locked. Prayers seem unanswered. The blessing feels delayed. But God does not delay to deny. He delays to strengthen your spirit. He wants to see if you trust his timing more than your own desire. Many lose their blessing at this stage because they quit too soon. They stop praying when heaven is one command away from release. The test is designed to refine your faith. God asks, will you still believe when nothing seems to work? Will you still worship when the evidence of your blessing is invisible? Those who endure this stage are the ones who receive the fullness of the promise, because faith is not proven in abundance. It is proven in absence. When you can trust God in silence, you are ready for his sound of breakthrough. The fifth sign appears when divine clarity enters your confusion. After a long season of uncertainty, suddenly your mind becomes still. The fog lifts. You begin to see purpose in pain, meaning in your waiting, and lessons in your losses. This is God opening your spiritual eyes. Blessings do not come to the blind. They come to those who can discern. God reveals the why behind the struggle, and everything begins to make sense. You realize that every rejection was protection, every delay was direction, every loss was preparation. When this revelation comes, you feel a peace that surpasses understanding. That peace is not ordinary. It is the mark of divine order. God never blesses confusion. He blesses clarity. When you begin to understand the lessons of your past, it means God is preparing you to handle the weight of your future. Then comes the sixth sign, the sudden acceleration. What once took years begins to happen in moments. Things you prayed for start aligning faster than you expected. The right people appear. The right opportunities show up. The right doors open. It's as if time begins to cooperate with your destiny. That's not luck. That's divine orchestration. God compresses time. When the preparation is complete, what took others decades, you will accomplish in months. When God is ready to bless you, He redeems lost time. Every delay, every setback, every disappointment suddenly begins to make sense because you realize nothing was wasted. You were being positioned, trained, and matured for this moment. This is why patience is power. It allows God to perfect what you are praying for. The seventh and final sign is spiritual elevation. Your inner life begins to rise before your outer life changes. You feel a shift in your spirit. Your desires change. You crave peace more than popularity. You value purpose more than possessions. You start detaching from superficial pursuits. This is not weakness. It is maturity. God always blesses the soul before the situation. When your heart aligns with divine principles, when your spirit is purified of pride, bitterness, and doubt, then God releases what was being withheld. Blessings are not only gifts, they are responsibilities. And God cannot entrust heavy blessings to hearts still carrying old burdens. When you feel the inner transformation, it means the outer manifestation is near. Your thoughts become clearer. Your faith becomes stronger. Your soul feels lighter. That is the spiritual confirmation that the blessing is already on its way. Now listen carefully. When God is about to bless you, He doesn't announce it to the world. He announces it to your spirit. That quiet knowing, you feel that strange calm in the middle of chaos. That unexplainable confidence when things look uncertain. That is divine assurance. You are not imagining it. You are not overthinking it. That is God telling you, stay still. I am working. Many people lose their blessing because they misinterpret stillness as stagnation. But stillness is the most powerful posture of faith. It is the moment when heaven is moving on your behalf. Even though the earth looks silent, God works in the unseen before He reveals in the seen. So do not doubt the silence. It is a sacred space of creation. Sometimes, before the blessing, you will also experience spiritual warfare in your mind. Doubt will whisper, nothing is changing. Fear will echo, what if it never happens? But faith will rise and say God is faithful. When these thoughts come, understand your breakthrough is close. The enemy always attacks the mind right before manifestation. He knows that if he can control your thoughts, he can stop your progress. But when you resist negativity, when you silence fear with faith, you prove to God that you are ready for the next level. The mind is the battlefield, and the blessing belongs to those who master it. Guard your thoughts as treasures, for they shape your destiny. God is precise. He blesses at the right moment, not the convenient one. You may be in a waiting season, but that doesn't mean you are forgotten. You are being prepared. A blessing too early becomes a burden. That's why God sometimes withholds what you desire most, because He wants to protect what He most placed inside you. Every delay carries divine design. The blessing is not late. It is being perfected. You must hold faith even when it looks like nothing is moving, because In the spiritual realm, everything is already set. God is aligning resources, moving hearts, and rearranging circumstances to ensure that when your blessing arrives, it cannot be stolen, reversed, or destroyed. When God is about to bless you, you will also sense unusual peace during storms. This peace is not logical, it is divine. It comes from knowing that the outcome is already written in your favor. You stop worrying about timelines. You stop comparing your journey to others. You rest in trust, and that rest becomes your strength. Many think blessings are only about material things, but true blessings begin within. When you have peace that cannot be shaken, that is the foundation of abundance. God always works from the inside out. When your spirit is calm, your environment must align. That is spiritual law. Some of you are standing right now on the edge of breakthrough, but you are interpreting your test as failure. You are looking at the temporary storm and thinking God has forgotten you. But storms are not signs of rejection. They are signs of transition. When the wind gets stronger, it means you are about to lift higher. You cannot rise without resistance. God sends winds to uproot you from places where you've stayed too long. That discomfort, that loss, that delay, it's not punishment. It's the push toward your next level. After you prayed for a blessing, but you didn't know that blessings are often wrapped in battles. God hides blessings behind challenges to see who truly trusts Him. So, if your life feels like a storm, rejoice. The greater the turbulence, the closer you are to elevation. Understand this truth. Blessings are not accidents. They are rewards for alignment. When your life begins to reflect divine order, when your words, your actions, and your intentions start matching what God expects, He releases overflow. Many pray for blessings, but live in disobedience. But God blesses order, not confusion. He blesses faith, not fear. He blesses surrender, not stubbornness. When you stop fighting His will and start flowing with His plan, you will see the floodgates open. The blessing was never far. It was just waiting for your obedience. God cannot release what your character cannot sustain. So every season of testing, every delay, every pruning, it was preparing you to hold the blessing without losing yourself. The moment before a blessing is always the hardest. Everything in you wants to give up. The pressure increases, the silence grows, and doubt creeps in. But that is when you must hold your faith tighter than ever, because the darkest hour is always right before dawn. When you feel like quitting, that's the sign you are closest to victory. God often waits until you are fully surrendered before He acts. He wants to bless not your pride, but your purity. When you say, God, even if you don't give me what I want, I still trust you. That's when the heavens open. That level of surrender activates divine release. And when the blessing finally comes, it won't be subtle. It will be undeniable. Everything you lost will begin to return in better form. Relationships will heal. Opportunities will appear. Doors you never knocked on will open. People who once overlooked, you will be forced to recognize what God has done in your life. You won't need to prove yourself. Your transformation will speak for itself. That's how God works. He blesses you publicly after refining you privately. He makes your story a testimony of His power. When God is about to bless you, you will notice one last thing. Your heart will no longer chase what is temporary. You will crave purpose. You will long to serve, to give, to uplift others. Because real blessings are never just for you. They are meant to flow through you. God blesses vessels that are open, not containers that are closed. When you become a channel of goodness, He keeps pouring more into your life. The more you give, the more you grow. The more you share, the more He multiplies. That is how divine multiplication works. It begins with a generous heart. God never gives to the selfish. He gives to those who reflect His spirit of abundance. Every pain, every tear, every lonely night, every silent prayer, it was not wasted. After God saw it, he counted every sigh. He heard every word you couldn't even speak. And now the time has come for you to rise. The signs are already around you. The discomfort, the isolation, the clarity, the peace. Don't misread them. They are proof that the blessing is near. You are about to walk into a season where what was once impossible will suddenly become inevitable. Stay still. Stay faithful. Stay ready. God is about to bless you beyond measure. And when he does, no one will be able to deny that it was his hand upon your life. When God is preparing to bless you, he begins by shifting your spiritual atmosphere long before your physical reality changes. It's a sacred rearrangement, often misunderstood as chaos. But in truth, it is divine order forming beneath the surface. What feels like delay is actually God realigning every piece of your life to fit the blueprint of your destiny. You are not being ignored. You are being refined. You are not being punished. You are being perfected. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of silence carries an invisible purpose. God hides his greatest blessings in seasons that seem barren, so that only those who truly trust him will endure long enough to receive them. You see, when God decides to bless a person, he first breaks the limits of their thinking. The human mind can only hold what it believes is possible. If your thoughts are small, your blessings will be too. So God begins to stretch your faith. He makes you dream bigger, hope deeper, and believe beyond logic. That stretching hurts. It feels like pressure. It feels like confusion. But that's God expanding your capacity. A small vessel cannot hold a large blessing. The discomfort you feel is not destruction. It's enlargement. God is teaching you how to carry the weight of what he's about to release. When he enlarges your vision, it's a sign that your environment is about to change. Sometimes, before God blesses you, he must confront what you've settled for. Many people stop at survival when they were destined for significance. They accept little because they fear loss. But God cannot fill a heart that clings to comfort. He calls you out of the familiar to show you the extraordinary. He removes what you thought you needed to prove to you that his provision is enough. When you lose something or someone, it's often because your blessing demands a new foundation. God will not build destiny on a cracked surface. He clears, he removes, he prunes. Not to harm you, but to strengthen the structure of your life. The pruning feels painful, but it is proof that you are fertile. Only fruitful trees are pruned. When God is about to bless you, your discernment heightens. You start seeing things for what they truly are, not what you wish they were. He sharpens your spirit to detect what does not belong in your next season. The same conversations that once entertained you start to irritate your soul. The same habits that once felt harmless begin to disturb your peace. That is divine conviction. It's not guilt. It's guidance. God is showing you that you cannot carry the old version of yourself into the new season. The blessing requires a purified heart and a disciplined mind. The same way gold must pass through fire before it shines, your character must pass through testing before it qualifies for the next level. And when that testing comes, don't misinterpret it as punishment. Tests are the final gates before blessings. God will test your patience, your humility, your endurance, and your ability to remain faithful in silence. He wants to know, can you handle being overlooked without becoming bitter? Can you celebrate others while you are still waiting? Can you obey even when you don't understand? These questions are not for God's sake. They are for yours. They reveal the strength of your heart. Every test is an invitation for elevation. If you fail, he doesn't discard you. He trains you again, because God is not after perfection. He is after progression. When the blessing is near, God often sends signs through your emotions. You start to feel a holy restlessness, a divine discontentment with where you are. It's as if your spirit knows that something greater is calling. You may wake up in the night with a fire in your chest, You may feel drawn to pray, to fast, to reflect, to withdraw from noise. That is the inner voice of destiny, whispering that your blessing is in motion. Do not suppress that calling with distraction. When God awakens your spirit, respond with obedience. The blessing you seek is tied to the level of your spiritual sensitivity. If you ignore his nudge, you delay your own breakthrough. But when you respond to God's call, something shifts in the unseen. Invisible doors begin to open. People you've never met start thinking about you. Resources begin to align. Favor begins to locate you. You will start hearing the phrase, "I don't know why, but I feel led to help you." That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. When God moves, he doesn't need human permission. He influences hearts, rearranges circumstances, and alters time itself to fulfill his promise. You won't have to chase your blessing. It will chase you. You won't have to prove yourself. The favor of God will speak louder than your qualifications. Before every great blessing, God purifies your motives. He will ask you, "Why do you want this?" Because a pure blessing requires a pure heart. If your desire is rooted in comparison, competition, or pride, the blessing will destroy you instead of build you. God blesses those who seek to reflect his goodness, not those who seek to boast in their gain. He measures not only your request, but also your reason. That is why he delays certain things, not to deny them, but to refine your intention. The moment your desire becomes aligned with his will, the blessing flows effortlessly. You won't have to beg. You will only have to be ready. One of the clearest signs that your blessing is near is when you experience unusual favor in unexpected places. People who don't know you begin to trust you. Parts open without effort. Ideas begin to bear fruit. You find yourself at the right place at the right time without planning it. That is divine orchestration, proof that God is walking ahead of you. He softens hearts, opens gates, and prepares platforms before you even arrive. That is why you must not panic when you face temporary opposition. God is not removing your blessing. He is removing obstacles to protect it. After the very walls seem to block you today, will soon stand as monuments to your perseverance. There is also a deep spiritual law at work before every blessing. There is a separation. God separates light from darkness before creation can begin. Likewise, he separates your purpose from your past before your blessing manifests. You may lose friends, routines, or even habits you once enjoyed. But understand this, God separates to elevate. He detaches you from what is draining your spiritual energy. You cannot rise while holding on to what pulls you down. Separation is not the end. It is the beginning of sacred promotion. The emptiness you feel after release is just the space being prepared for something better. When your blessing is close, the presence of God becomes undeniable. You begin to sense him in everything, in silence, in nature, in simple moments of reflection. He makes you sensitive to small things, because he is training you to recognize his movement. You will notice that your prayer life deepens. You no longer pray for things. You pray for wisdom. You no longer seek recognition. You seek alignment. That shift in your heart is a sign of maturity, and maturity attracts manifestation. When God sees that you desire his will more than his gifts, he trusts you with both. The blessed often go through an unseen refining fire before they rise. The fire is meant to burn away self-doubt, pride, and fear. It teaches humility and sharpens discernment. When you endure this fire, you become unbreakable. God never allows you to go through pain without purpose. Every hardship that seemed unfair is actually equipping you to carry the blessing with strength. If you had received it earlier, you would have mishandled it. But now, after the fire, you are ready. You have learned patience, compassion, and gratitude, qualities that preserve the blessing once it arrives. When God decides to elevate you, even the smallest act of obedience becomes powerful. He multiplies your little and makes it much. He turns your ordinary efforts into extraordinary results. That is why you must never underestimate consistency. After many people fail not because they lack talent, but because they stop too soon. They give up one step before breakthrough. But when you remain steadfast, when you keep praying, working, believing, and sowing, even when you see no results, you activate divine acceleration. God honors persistence. Every time you refuse to quit, heaven takes notice. The closer you are to your blessing, the more the enemy tries to distract you. He uses doubt, temptation, and fear to derail your focus. He will send chaos disguised as opportunity and noise disguised as urgency. But discernment will protect you. You must ask yourself daily, is this from God, or is this pulling me away from peace? Because the voice of God never confuses, it confirms. He does not pressure, he positions. If something brings rest to your spirit, it's likely divine. If it disturbs your peace, it's not for you. The ability to distinguish between what is good and what is good and what is God will determine whether you step into your blessing or circle the wilderness again. When you finally align your mind, heart, and actions with divine will, you enter a flow. Life begins to cooperate with your purpose. Even your failures become lessons, and your mistakes turn into wisdom. You begin to see that every event, good or bad, was orchestrated to prepare you for this season. You stop asking why me and start saying, thank you, God. Gratitude becomes your language, and in gratitude you find power. Gratitude is the key that unlocks abundance. It attracts more of what you appreciate. God blesses grateful hearts because they multiply his goodness through thankfulness. There will come a moment when you feel a deep inner confirmation, a knowing that no one can take away. That's when you'll realize the blessing has already begun. You will feel lighter, freer, and more at peace. The things that once stressed you will lose their power over you. The opinions of others will no longer control you. This is the spiritual evidence of divine blessing. True blessings are not always loud. They are peaceful. They bring clarity, not confusion. They bring fulfillment, not competition. So if you are in a season where life feels unpredictable, where everything seems uncertain, do not despair. It means God is near. It means something magnificent is unfolding beneath the surface. Hold your faith tightly, for faith is the bridge between promise and manifestation. The moment you believe that God is still in control, you shift the atmosphere. You draw the unseen into the seen. Every word of faith is a seed, and in the right season, that seed will burst into reality. God has not forgotten you. He has simply been preparing you. And when his time meets your readiness, nothing on earth or in the heavens can stop what he has ordained for your life. When God is preparing to bless you, he begins by placing you in circumstances that stretch your faith to its fullest capacity. You may look around and wonder, why does everything seem harder now? But what you are feeling is not abandonment. It is preparation. God is building your endurance because blessings require strength to sustain. Many pray for the blessing, but are unprepared for the weight that comes with it. So God trains you through difficulty. He strengthens your faith through delay. He matures your heart through disappointment. He allows pressure to mold your patience, because only a steady heart can carry lasting favor. The fire that you feel is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to purify what no longer belongs in your destiny. When God is near to releasing your blessing, your perception of time changes. What used to frustrate you begins to make sense. You stop rushing. You stop comparing. You begin to trust that what is meant for you will arrive when you are truly ready. This is one of the greatest marks of divine maturity, peace in waiting. When your spirit can rest, even when nothing has yet manifested, it means your faith has grown beyond sight. God loves to bless a soul that can trust without proof. He withholds visible evidence to build invisible confidence. It is that unshakable faith that becomes the foundation for enduring prosperity. There is a mystery that few understand. Blessings do not begin with receiving. They begin with releasing. When God wants to elevate you, He first asks you to let go. Let go of control. Let go of what you think should happen. Let go of who you thought you needed. The blessing you're waiting for cannot enter hands that are still gripping the past. Surrender is not weakness. It is spiritual alignment. The moment you let go, you make space for God to move. You shift from striving to receiving. And when you reach that level of surrender, blessings begin to find you effortlessly because your life is now flowing in divine rhythm. Sometimes, when God is ready to bless you, He will lead you into obscurity. He will hide you in seasons of silence where nothing seems to happen. You may feel forgotten, overlooked, or invisible. But understand this hiding is not rejection. It is protection. God hides His most valuable vessels until the appointed time. Just as the seed must remain underground before it grows, you must remain hidden until your roots are deep enough to sustain what will soon appear. When you are unseen, you are being strengthened. When no one calls your name, God is writing it on doors that no human can close. Trust the hidden season. It is proof that your exposure will be divine, not man-made. When God prepares a blessing, He will often shake your foundation to test what you truly depend on. If your peace is tied to circumstances, He will disturb those circumstances. If your confidence is tied to people, He will remove their validation. He does this to shift your dependence from creation back to the Creator. God desires to be your only source, because only then can your blessing remain unshaken. When He becomes your anchor, no loss can destroy you. You will no longer collapse under pressure, because your stability is built on eternal strength, not temporary support. One of the most overlooked signs that a blessing is approaching is spiritual conflict. When everything around you suddenly feels unsettled, your mind, your emotions, your relationships, it is because light and darkness are colliding over your next season. God is pulling you forward while the enemy tries to pull you back. The chaos you feel is the clash between who you were and who you are becoming. You must choose which side of yourself will win. Will you return to comfort, or will you step into calling? The moment you decide to trust God completely, the confusion begins to break. Peace will return, and clarity will follow. When God is about to bless you, He will also expose your hidden fears. He will bring them to the surface, not to embarrass you, but to free you, because blessings demand boldness. You cannot step into divine abundance while being enslaved by the fear of failure or rejection. So God confronts your insecurities head on. He places you in situations where you must choose faith over fear. Every time you choose faith, your spiritual muscles grow stronger. Fear loses its voice. Courage begins to rise. That courage becomes the key that unlocks your next level. Another divine sign that precedes a blessing is divine discomfort with mediocrity. You will begin to feel an inner hunger for excellence. What once satisfied you no longer feels enough. That's not greed. It's spiritual growth. God is enlarging your spirit to match the size of your destiny. You will notice that you begin to think differently, walk differently, and even speak differently. This is not arrogance. It's transformation. The old version of you cannot carry the new vision that God is birthing within you. When He is preparing to bless you, He upgrades your inner life before He elevates your outer life. At times, God will send divine interruptions. Plans will fail. Opportunities will close. Relationships will end abruptly. It will confuse you at first, but later you will realize that every interruption was a rescue in disguise. God saw something you could not see. He removed what would have delayed or diluted your blessing. Every no you received was a redirection towards something greater. That is why you must never mourn closed doors too long. The same God who closed them has already prepared one that will open with ease and bring peace when you walk through it. When the blessing draws near, your spirit will begin to crave solitude. After, you will desire moments of silence away from the distractions of noise and opinion. That is not isolation, it's intimacy. God calls you into stillness so that you can hear what he has been trying to say all along. In stillness, he gives direction, he gives clarity, he gives warning. The blessing you are about to receive will require precise instruction, and that instruction comes to those who are still enough to listen. The world glorifies business, but God speaks in quiet spaces. When he draws you inward, do not resist. That inner calling is your invitation to wisdom. One of the most beautiful signs that God's blessing is near is the sudden release of burdens. You will notice that the things which used to weigh heavily on your heart no longer hold the same power. You will forgive people who never apologized. You will find peace in situations that once brought pain. This release is sacred. It is God removing residue from your soul. He is cleansing you so that nothing old can contaminate the new. Emotional healing always precedes material manifestation. Before he restores what you lost, he restores your peace. Only then can your blessing rest on you securely. And when the blessing begins to manifest, it will come with divine ease. What used to require struggle will now unfold smoothly. Doors will open without forcing. People will help you without asking. The very paths that once resisted you will now welcome you. This ease is not coincidence. It is the reward of alignment. When your heart, mind, and actions align with divine will, the universe itself must respond. God had designed existence to obey obedience. When you flow with his plan, everything around you harmonizes with your purpose. But remember, every blessing carries a responsibility. God does not bless you only for your benefit. He blesses you to become a vessel of benefit to others. The blessing that stops with you becomes a burden. The blessing that flows through you multiplies. If you want your blessing to last, use it to uplift. Use your abundance to heal, your wisdom to guide, your influence to inspire. The more you pour out, the more God will pour in. He trusts givers more than hoarders. He enlarges those who share, because through them his goodness expands. And yes, there will always be moments when doubt tries to whisper again. It will tell you that perhaps you misunderstood. Perhaps the blessing is too big. Perhaps it's not your time. But you must remember that doubt is the shadow of destiny. It only appears where there is light. Let that doubt remind you that something radiant is approaching. Silence it by remembering what God has already brought you through. If he carried you this far, why would he abandon you now? Every past victory is proof of future fulfillment. As the blessing draws near, gratitude becomes your greatest weapon. And gratitude transforms your atmosphere. It disarms fear and activates favor. When you thank God even before the blessing arrives, you declare that you trust his timing completely. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is possible. It opens your spirit to receive more. The heart that is thankful never runs empty because it recognizes abundance even in small beginnings. Gratitude is faith in motion. It tells God, I believe it's already done. And finally, when the blessing arrives, remember this truth. The purpose of every blessing is not to make you comfortable. It is to make you impactful. Comfort fades, but purpose remains. God blesses you so that your life becomes evidence of his power. He wants the world to look at you and see his faithfulness. He wants your story to give hope to others who are still waiting. That is the highest form of blessing, to become a living testimony of divine goodness. If you are feeling the stir, the shift, the pressure, the stretching, do not resist it. It means heaven is aligning in your favor. God is not just preparing the blessing for you. He is preparing you for the blessing. And when both preparation and promise meet, nothing and no one can stop what he has declared over your life. Hold firm. Keep your faith alive and stand ready. The signs are here. The season is near, and the blessing is already written in the language of destiny. Your name is on it. After, when God is preparing to bless you, there comes a divine stillness before the outpouring. It's that quiet moment when your spirit feels heavy but alive. When you can sense that something greater is on the horizon. You may not see it with your eyes, but your heart begins to tremble because deep inside you know God is near. And when God draws near, the atmosphere around you begins to shift. The same people who misunderstood you begin to see your worth. The same doors that were locked tight begin to creak open. The same nights that felt endless suddenly reveal the dawn. When God is ready to move, no power on earth can hold him back. And when he chooses to move in your life, no force in the universe can stop his blessing from finding you. But hear this truth clearly. Before the blessing comes the testing. Before the promise comes the pruning. God never releases a blessing until the vessel is ready to receive it. That is why he allows delays, disappointments, and even heartbreaks. Not to break you, but to build you into someone who can carry the weight of the blessing without losing sight of him. Many people pray for elevation, but few are willing to be purified for it. Many cry for favor, but few are ready for the solitude it demands. When God prepares to bless you, he removes everything that competes with his place in your heart. He separates you from distractions so you can walk in divine focus. And when that moment comes, your spirit will know. You will feel a deep urgency to let go of what no longer aligns with your destiny. You will stop fighting for people who refuse to understand your purpose. You will no longer chase what drains your peace, because your soul will crave stillness in God's presence. You will find yourself praying differently, thinking differently, walking differently, because something inside you knows that the old life no longer fits the person God is calling you to become. That is not confusion. That is transformation. That is God whispering, I am about to bless you beyond measure. And I want you to remember this truth tonight. When the blessing finally comes, it won't just change your circumstances, it will change you. Because God never gives a blessing that leaves a person the same. His blessings expand your heart, sharpen your wisdom, and ignite your faith. You will begin to see that the pain had purpose, that the loss had meaning, that the silence was sacred. You will look back and realize that every no, every delay, every closed door was simply God redirecting your path toward a blessing you couldn't yet imagine. So if you are listening to this and your life feels like a wilderness, don't despair. The wilderness is not a punishment. It's a preparation. God often hides his chosen ones in obscurity before revealing them in glory. He isolates you to purify your motives, to strengthen your endurance, and to teach you that your value comes not from man, but from him alone. The people who overlooked you were part of the plan. The ones who left you a part of the preparation. Every tear you cried became a seed that God himself will water with favor. You are not forgotten. You are being fashioned for greatness. And when that blessing arrives, it will not just bless you, it will overflow into others. Because when God blesses a person, it's never just for them. It's so they can become a vessel through which his goodness flows into the world. That is why he tests your heart first. He must know that you will use what he gives you to uplift others, not to glorify yourself. So when the breakthrough comes, when the doors open, when the abundance pours in, remember who sustained you in the waiting. Remember who lifted you when you had nothing left. Remember who whispered hope when everyone else turned away. It was always God. It will always be God. Now is the time to rise. Now is the time to align your life with the will of God. Release your doubts, release your fears, and surrender every part of yourself that resists his guidance. The world may tell you to rush, to fight, to push, But God says, "Be still and know that I am working." Do not measure your progress by what you can see. Measure it by what God is doing in your heart. Because when your heart is right, everything else will follow. So stand firm in your faith. Keep walking even when you can't see the road ahead. Keep praying even when the silence feels endless. Keep trusting even when everything inside you wants to quit. Because one day soon, you will wake up and realize that the struggle has shifted, the storm has passed, and the blessing has arrived. And you will know, without a doubt, that it was God who carried you all along. Lift your head, for your time is near. The blessing is not coming. It's already on its way. God is aligning the right people, the right opportunities, the right moments for your elevation. Stay faithful, stay humble, stay ready, because when God decides to bless you, He doesn't ask for permission. He moves with power, and His hand leaves no doubt that you have been chosen for greatness. And so with all the strength of your spirit, declare it. I am ready. God, prepare me for what you have prepared for me. Remove what blocks me. Cleanse what distracts me, and lead me into the fullness of your blessing. Let that be your prayer. Let that be your commitment. And when you live with that kind of surrender, you won't have to chase blessings. They will chase you. Because wherever a heart is fully surrendered to God, favor follows. Go forward now with courage, with conviction, and with peace. The signs have been revealed. The preparation is complete. The blessing is at the door. And when God opens it, walk through it boldly. For this is your season to be lifted, favored, and used mightily by His